Um, but for
Mhm.
me, the Titans did come back, but I was want to talk about this, and we talked about this a little bit. I don't know if we talked about it offline or not, but there were just some. This is one of the things that's been frustrating me with the NFL a little bit. But they had this the taunting penalty that was on the Seattle's cornerback late in the second half when the Titans were starting to make a run. There's
Mhm.
a long ball thrown. I forgot which cornerback it was, but then there's a taunting penalty because he broke up this pass. Is incomplete. I believe it was going to be fourth down, and he gets up and he flexes, and he's not flexing over him. He's looking at the receiver, but he's flexing, and then taunting call comes in. It extends the drive. There were
Mhm.
the Julio Jones call as well as that one. I don't know. That
They reviewed
seems
it
like
too.
it seemed like they couldn't overturn it. It looked so close. Like it was one of those because there's a touchdown on the field. I don't know if you can overturn. Like I don't know how you over. It
Yeah.
wasn't didn't seem black and white. It was
Mhm.
maybe they saw an angle that I didn't see, and
The
it just seemed like some of the officiating calls could have highly impacted the game, like that Julio Jones touchdown,
well,
for example,
also
the
too. So
taunting
the one
penalty
at
as
the
well.
very end, the one at the very end that bugs me. That was a safety in overtime on Russell Wilson.
That was a safety,
He
and that was another one. That
he
was a
rolled
safety.
back in the end zone and then like he was in the end zone and then got pulled back further into the end zone.
His,
That was a hundred
his,
percent a
for,
safety.
his forward progress started in the end zone, especially because I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's going to be close because how when like they get their hands around the quarterback, then they start spinning. Like, okay, it's when they
Mhm.
start the spinning process and get their hands around on the quarterback there. But you're right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right with that. Russell Wilson,
Uh,
he retreated back to the end zone and then he grabbed him and then he
yeah.
just launched it. But that should have been a safety. And
Yeah.
I don't know how you
Sack
can't review that. I don't know how you can't review that honestly. Be,
because I honestly think it's somewhat of a loophole that the NFL has put in to somewhat protect the referees on these judgment calls. Just because if you were able to review every single play, whether it was forward progress or not, then like well, first of all, the game would take forever, but also too, then it becomes a judgment. Like if you go and review, and then there's like forward progress, like didn't start until here, and then there's fumbles and things. There's a lot of different elements that go into it, and just like so, when the
yeah.
referee calls forward progress, like that's it. There's no review.
Well, fair.
But for
Yeah.
me, I think like clearly in real time, you can see that he is in the end zone. Like I thought that was clearly a safety. I
No,
thought that should have been game over, and it didn't affect the game
mhm.
because the Titans still ended up winning, but it really could have.
But it could have. It could
Yeah,
have. Because let's say something like Seattle punts there and let's say Titans are trying to block it and get it and block it out of bounds and get a safety, but they run into the kicker. Seattle gets the ball back; they could go down and score. Or the Titans 3 and out, then Seattle gets the ball back. Or Titans miss a field goal
yeah,
and gets the ball back. And that's where it's
yeah,
because I saw where they spotted the ball for forward progress, and it's like that's on the half-yard line. And if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken, the back judge is the one that called forward progress, and it's like, how can you tell where the ball's at from
yeah.
back there?
Exactly.
If it's that close to safety, they should be able to review that and see.
Yeah,
You watch in real time, and then when you decide this is where forward progress is at, then you can slow it down to see where the ball's at. And
yeah.
it just seems to be officiating with the judgment call of that, the taunting judgment call really frustrated me.
Mhm.
And then the Julio Jones, I it was really close. I think that was one. It was so close to where I'm surprised that they overturned it. It was one of
Yeah.
those just with all the angles that they were presenting. It was how do you
Mhm.
overturn that? And yet the refs did that. I feel like that they could have had a bigger influence on the game than they could have. I still feel like
Yeah.
Seattle blew this game, but they could have saved
Yeah.
Seattle, or they could have also helped with the blowing up process, which is not what you want. You want the referees to stay
Yeah.
out of the game entirely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I
yeah,
100%
yeah.
agree. I
Mhm.
just it's frustrating to see, and granted, they're never going to be perfect. I was unofficial for a couple sports when I was in college, and like it's really hard. But at the same time, there's calls like that I just feel like don't need to be made, or like you could definitely get it right.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's the thing with this taunting rule now. It's like I get what they're doing. Like I get eliminating the taunting ones. Like at the end of the Super Bowl, when one of the Chiefs receivers dropped the pass, the Tampa Bay cornerback went up into his face and did
and
peace.
did like the peace sign.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
I
That's
get
taunting.
eliminating that. I get eliminating that. But I don't get though. Like, are you not allowed to celebrate now? Like when like you get up and
Yeah,
you taunt or not taunt, but like you flex. Like yeah, you got to
yeah.
make eye contact with guys. Or it'd
Also,
be different
too.
if like it'd be different if he Allen Iverson him, where he's like
Yeah,
gets up, flexes, and then
stepped
walks
over
over
him.
him. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would
yeah.
be different. But this, it's like it was a
Oh,
big play. It's a tense part of the game, and it's a complete momentum
yeah,
killer. Like,
and
and it's just a judgment call. It seems
yeah,
like referees
and
can't. It's not objective.
yeah. And another thing for me is I feel like more popular players will get favoritism. Like, uh, let's say that was like Jalen Ramsey who did that and flexed over a receiver, which he does all the time, and he talks all this shit and whatever. Like, it, if you're gonna call it for the no-name corner on Seattle, like it has to go for Jalen Ramsey too. Like
Yeah,
you can't, and I feel like that's is starting to what's happening to some of these things. So
yeah.
anyways, I don't want to harp too much on the refs. I hate that we even have to have this part of the discussion, but
Well,
I,
it's just one the way the direction the NFL is going with that. It's like you get what they're doing, but they need to make it objective. Like when they, just an example, when they eliminated the face mask. Remember, because face mask penalties used to be either 5 or
used to be a
15 yards.
two-tier. Yeah,
Yeah, 2 tier, and they
yeah,
just eliminated that because it just took out any objectiveness. Well, sorry, any subjectiveness of it on if it was intentional
yeah,
or unintentional. It was like if you grab the face mask, that's 15 yards. Just don't do it. And
yeah, yeah,
we're seeing that with this taunt thing. We're also seeing it with some of the QB hits. And like Ryan Tannehill, there was a QB hit, and I watched it real time. I thought it was weak, but then when they slowed it down, it was helmet to helmet against a defenseless quarterback throwing
yeah.
the ball.
And
But this
so
is a
my thing with
segue.
that,
Oh, go ahead.
so my thing with the helmet is Jamal Adams went up and hit him in the face, like
Yeah,
which I thought that was clearly a like that clearly could have been avoided.
yeah, yep. But
And so
this will
I'm fine
be
with that one.
yeah, this will be our segues into our uh, what the segment is. But then there was a roughing the passer QB penalty against Chase Young on Thursday night, where he tackled Daniel Jones, and he tackled him, and it was because he landed on top of him. But you can see as he's going down, Chase Young, he's bringing his hands up, like I'm not trying to hit, I'm not trying to like land on top of
Yeah,
you. But it's a 15-yard penalty, and it's a complete momentum killer.
yeah,
To what is a great game, and we're going to get to that in a second. But I think just kind of continue this
hmm,
point is it can be if that's like a 3rd and 7 and it's a great stop on or shoot, even if it's 3rd and 2, it's a great stop on defense by the guys. But then it's some judgment call that this ref on this night might make, but another ref on a different night might not make. Like
yeah,
that's where it seems like that just looks like a football play, and
yeah,
it
exactly.
affects some of the games.
And it's not even like Chase Young like body slammed him or even like came down with all his weight and like and did all that. He if you go back and watch it, like he actually somewhat lands on his knees, so he's not just like smashing Daniel Jones into the turf. I,
Yeah, yeah.
some of
Well,
these
and
rules I think are getting a little out of hand.